Well, one of our all-time favorite guests is with us today, and I am happy to have him, Colonel Alan West. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well, Michael. How you been?
I call you Colonel because it's a distinguished honor, and it's not been sullied the way your title of congressman has by some. But you have served admirably this nation in multiple capacities, and we thank you for that.
Not a problem.
I'm glad to have you on.
I'm great to be with you guys.
Well, first of all,
greetings to everyone down in Houston.
Yeah, people want to know. People want to know what you're up to.
Well, we just got back from the National Review summer cruise. As a matter of fact, there were quite a few folks from the Houston area that were on that cruise with National Review, and we spoke on 3 different panels. We embarked out of Amsterdam, went up through the fjords of Norway, and so it was a great time to be with fellow constitutional conservatives, as well as my wife and 2 daughters had a great time as well. So now we're back in the saddle here at Next Generation TV and doing our thing.
Tell us what Next Generation TV is.
Well, Next Generation TV is part of PJ Media and PJ TV, and it really is an internet news program that is focused on crystallizing today's events, current events, news, what have you, for our younger generation to try to get them to see, a little bit more clearly the issues that are confronting them. I mean, when you speak about the health care law and the fact that these exchanges will fall flat if they cannot, kind of coerce and co-opt many young people to buy into these exchanges. So those are the type of issues we try to analyze for them.
You are involved with SpecialOperationsSpeaks.com. Good group. Mm-hmm. Guy that I grew up with is very involved there, Josh Delano. And they have, as much as anybody, kept the issue of Benghazi before the American people. I know that you've been involved in that. Can you catch us up to speed where we are?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, before I left, we had the Special Operations Speaks had that incredible little press conference up there on the East Capitol Steps lawn where they rolled out what had to be one of the longest petitions ever submitted to Congress, close to 1,000 signatures of, retired special operators. And it's so important that we keep the Benghazi issue alive because, that's not who we are and that we don't abandon people who are under attack. And the most important question we've got to ask is why was that Ambassador Chris Stevens there on the 11th anniversary of 9/11 in Benghazi without the proper security? And there were plenty of warnings. There were plenty of requests from him. And those are the things we got to get to the bottom of. And there is a huge difference that it makes because some person that wants to be a president in the future, the phone call came at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and they just rolled over and went back to sleep.
Lieutenant Colonel and former Congressman Alan West is our guest. There is a lot of speculation, and Jake Tapper of CNN, of all places, revealed week before last that there were dozens of CIA operatives on the ground. That fact has not been disclosed, and it seems as if there is still a lot out there yet to be disclosed. Is anybody in the Republican Party helping this cover up? I mean, how have they been able to keep this from blowing up for this long?
Well, the big concern that I have, Representative Frank Wolf of Virginia has H Resolution 36, which is a call for a select committee to look at Benghazi. I mean, one committee that is focused and has the subpoena powers. He's got 161 signatures on that. But then you also have Representative Stockman from Texas, who has brought forth a discharge petition to try to get the 218 signatures so that can be brought to the floor, the resolution to get the select committee. Now, why we are still, kind of putzing around with 5 different committees on this, and we haven't learned anything in the years since that has happened. We've had the Armed Service Committee has had General Carter Ham and the Marine Colonel whose name slips me right now, but they were both behind closed doors. So we need to have a committee that will have this out in the open. And as I said, the first question is, who sent Ambassador Chris Stevens there, and why was he there? And yes, we know that there were CIA operatives at that annex because that's where the 2 former Navy SEALs, Woods and Doherty, they heard the call and they went to the sound of the gun. So there were others that were there. We know that there were victims there at the consulate who were rescued. We have not heard from them. So there's a lot to get to the bottom of.
Colonel Alan West. John Boehner, the House Speaker, has well more than 218 members of his party in the House. It strikes me that if he wanted to get to the bottom of Benghazi, they could call a committee, give them subpoena powers, and we could find out what happened. You've served in the House. You know that sometimes things are not as they appear. Do you think John Boehner wants to get to the bottom of this?
I will tell you this, the actions will speak clearly, and the fact that we have not gotten to that select committee, the fact that you have a really good, clear majority of your majority, 161 signatures on that resolution to have a select committee, the fact that you have, a member of your conference, Representative Stockman, bringing forth a discharge petition, something should be giving. And, if the Speaker has heard the word of his conference, which is the majority in the House, this should not be something hard to do. So I think that there are questions that the Speaker has to answer as to why he has not supported having this select committee, and saying that we're going to let things work out and that we have a strategy is not working, because with these 5 different committees, there is no unity of command, there's no unity of effort, and we're not getting anywhere with this. And the American people are tired of stonewalling.
I agree. Lieutenant Colonel Allen West. Our esteemed Senator Ted Cruz is leading a charge to defund Obamacare, along with Mike Lee and Marco Rubio and some others. Do you believe that there is the muscle and the will in the House to do that?
I think that you have some that will be willing to do that. But if you go back and remember when Senator Richard Burr from North Carolina went to the Senate floor and said this was the dumbest idea he had ever heard. Well, if you have some of the older pachyderms within the Republican Party and the leadership that are not going to support this, then you have this division and you have this separation. This is not about shutting down the government, which is what everyone wants to try to make it out to be. This is about saying that here we have a law that even the President of the United States, the executive branch, by Constitution, who is supposed to execute laws, are cherry-picking the things that they want to participate in or what they want to delay. You have union groups that are saying that this is not going to hurt their 40-hour work week. You have members of Congress that have an exemption for it, as well as their staff members. You see what is happening with our small businesses and our economy, and the fact that it's going to add another $1 trillion to our deficit over the next 10 years. What I say is that let's keep the government operating, but let's set this thing to the side and let's do the hard analysis and assessment to say let's make sure that we get this right for implementation, because right now it's not ready for prime time.
I think you're right, and I'm concerned about the implementation. Colonel West, can you hold with us for just a moment?
I can hold.
Lieutenant Colonel Allen West, former congressman, and I know what's on your mind, folks. You want to know what's next, because like me, you would like to see him re-enter elected office. I think he is very effective given the stage he has created for himself as a public policy advocate, but I think all of us would like to see him return to public life as an elected official, and we'll ask him will he do that coming up next.
Promote the general welfare, not provide welfare.
This is Representative Allen West, and you are listening to The Michael Berry Show.
Everyone has a right to own a home. How does that end up? Everyone has a right to health care. How does that end up?
Greetings, everyone. This is Representative Allen West, and you're listening to a true American patriot, Michael Berry.
Lieutenant Colonel and former congressman, American patriot, I dare say American hero, Allen West is our guest. I think he has inspired a new generation of younger, more libertarian-leaning, some folks who were disenfranchised after who were disgruntled and disillusioned with this country after their service to this country with the way the government treated them. I think a lot of people have come back into the fold and said, you know what, yeah, we can fix this country. We can. And, I took it as a badge of honor that the guy who ran against you got more votes in a congressional district into which you were sort of gerrymandered after, in my opinion, the Republican Party let you down. I took it as a badge of honor that you were defeated, because I said, this is going to be a great opportunity for him to be freed of the shackles of traditional political office and go do what he really wants to do and come back on his terms.
Well, you're absolutely right. And one of the things that my faith teaches you is that, when God closes a door, he opens up a far better one. And if I can just go back to one thing, you hear a lot of people say that the GOP does not offer any, solutions for health care. And I would challenge people to listen to Representative Tom Price down out of Georgia, who is an orthopedic surgeon. He has some great solutions that, no one is paying attention to. So those things are out there. But Michael, you're absolutely right. Between Next Generation TV, which is a great platform to talk about.
I think we might have lost his connection. It shows that he's still on the line. It's just not coming up. Let me see if I can pick it back up again. Congressman? Oh, well. Well, we'll get him back if we get him back. Give it a second. I'm not sure what happened. I think they use a service when he's booking interviews, because we had trouble on the earlier hookup, getting him on a little bit earlier. Well, hang there if you would, B-Mac, and just let me know if he comes back on there. He'll probably call back in. In any case, lots of you sent in comments thanking us for having Lieutenant Colonel Alan West on the line. Absolutely, positively my pleasure. I've made no hesitation to tell you that I'm a huge fan of his. My friend Paul Murphy, the head of Cadence Bank, hosted an event for Alan West in probably late 11, early 12. Probably late 11. And the place was full. I mean, packed. In fact, I think they were shocked how packed it was because it was never announced on the air. I interviewed Alan West that afternoon on the show. It must have been late 11 because of the timing of what show I was on. I interviewed Alan West that afternoon, and I mentioned it one time, and then we went to break, and Paul Murphy called and said, hey, we can't accommodate that many people in our house. Please don't mention it again. I think we're already kind of full. Well, it exploded. It went viral. Tea Party groups started saying, hey, Alan, oh, there we go. And, well, all right. Well, I'll tell you all that story in a little bit. But the turnout was amazing, and I want to get to how he answered that question. But, Colonel West, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I'm
Solutions, Tom Price's solutions to Obamacare. Go ahead.
Yeah, Tom Price, representative out of Georgia, who's an orthopedic surgeon, has great solutions for what we can do to lower the cost of health care in this country, which is really what the American people are looking forward to, not this onerous piece of legislation that's nothing more than a tax law. I mean, there's 20 to 21 new taxes in it, and we know that people aren't very confident in its implementation. So there are solutions that are out there.
I need to keep you to 1 minute on this so I can get to what I want to ask you at the end.
Yeah,
Fort Hood case. You served in the military. You served in Congress. Why is it taking so long?
Well, Fort Hood was my last duty station there in Texas, and I will tell you that this is horrific, that it took 4 years, and this is part of political correctness in our military that is seeped in. The fact that you have Nadal Hassan, because I'm not going to call him Major, he's renounced his American citizenship. He's renounced his oath as an Army officer. This is not workplace violence. He says he's a soldier of Allah, and he's aligned with the Taliban. This is an act of terrorism and should be treated as such.
Is it, I don't know the military code, I know you do, is it typical that a case would have taken this long, or is this a political issue and not a shortcoming of the military justice system?
No, this is definitely a political issue. There was no reason why this has taken almost 4 years to come to court. The original judge who had demanded that Nadal Hassan shave his beard was taken off the case, which again is an indicator of the political correctness that is there. So, this is becoming just a farce. And if this gentleman wants to have the death penalty, let's give him the death penalty. And when he is done, let's take his body somewhere out and burn it, and take the ashes and strewn it, all over the Atlantic Ocean. And let's send a message to the jihadists that we are not playing games with you, and what you did, this was a heinous crime, and we have to destroy this political correctness.
I agree. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, what's the next office you will run for? Because most of us want to see you on the ballot and in office.
Well, that's up to whatever path the Lord leads me to be on. But, we'll get back into the political scene in 2016. Right now, there are a lot of things I can do to help our cause, help our movement, be a strong strong voice and advocate for constitutional conservative principles, get out there and help many of my former colleagues and candidates in the 2014 cycle to make sure that we can maintain the House and maybe win the Senate. And we cannot allow the last 2 years to be similar to the first 2 years of the Obama administration. The culture of corruption and intimidation and the onerous, intrusive big government era has to end.
Will you, Lieutenant Colonel Allen West, be weighing in on some of the races like Lindsey Graham in South Carolina, where Rob Maness is challenging the incumbent in Louisiana, where there will be internal Republican fights and there's a Tea Party candidate? Do you expect to get involved in those?
Well, I will do so judiciously. One of the things is that I'm not privy to want to go stick my nose into other states or other folks' business. I think that if the people of that state were to ask me to get involved, then I would. But I'm not looking to try to make myself some type of kingmaker or anything of that nature, or to skew the internal politics of any respective state. But I am here as a resource to help out if the people of a certain state would like for me to do so.
I dare say, Lieutenant Colonel Allen West, you have been an inspiration to many in this country, and I hope you will continue to fight the good fight, because you have a lot of us out there that will support you in any way you need it.
Well, I thank you very much, Michael, and anytime I'd be happy to be back on your show.
Thank you, buddy.
Take care.
Lieutenant Colonel Allen West, former congressman, American patriot, longtime servant of the public and of our nation. Good guy. Fascinating American story. If only the children of America could see the story of Allen West and see that as an inspiration instead of this foolish man in the White House.
Michael